On a freezing Christmas Eve in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Chicago, single father Ethan Brooks stepped out into the biting winter night, his breath visible in the crisp air. He was heading to his overnight shift at the warehouse, expecting nothing more than the usual solitude that had become his life. But as he approached his truck, a faint rustling sound near the alley dumpster caught his ear. What he saw next stopped him. Colder, tiny girl, barely 8 years old, rummaging through the trash with desperate determination. Her small hands, chapped and shaking from the sub-zero chill, sifted through discarded wrappers and scraps, like it was her only lifeline. In that moment, Ethan's world shifted. What began as a simple gesture of concern uncovered a story of unimaginable loss, sparking a bond that would heal wounds neither knew could mend. This is the tale of how one act of compassion turned to shattered lives into a family forged from the ashes of heartbreak. Ethan had always been a man of routine, especially since losing his wife, Laura, and their unborn daughter 3 years earlier. They'd been high school sweethearts, building a modest home in the Midwest, with dreams of backyard barbecues and family vacations to the Great Lakes. Laura's pregnancy had filled their days with excitement, picking out cribs, debating names, like Emily or Grace. But a sudden complication during delivery stole it all away. In a blur of hospital lights and devastating silence, Ethan had left that day a hollow shell, burying his grief in long work hours and isolation. Friends tried to reach him, but he pushed them away, convinced love was a risk he couldn't take again. Holidays, especially Christmas, were the hardest reminder of the joy he'd lost forever. That night, as snowflakes began to dust the ground, Ethan approached the girl cautiously. "Hey, kiddo," he said softly, his voice carrying over the wind. "You okay out here?" She froze, clutching a half-frozen apple core, her wide green eyes flashing with fear. She was bundled in a faded blue coat far too big for her, her blonde hair, matted and unkempt, cheeks sunken from hunger. After a tense pause, she murmured, "I'm Lily." Ethan knelt down, ignoring the cold seeping through his jeans. "I'm Ethan. What are you doing out here all alone? It's way past bedtime, and it's freezing." Lily's gaze dropped to the ground, her voice a whisper. "Looking for something to eat." The words hit Ethan like a freight train. No child should be scavenging in the trash, especially not on a night meant for warmth and wonder. "Where's your family?" he pressed gently. Tears welled in her eyes as she shook her head. "I don't have one anymore." Ethan's heart ached with a familiar pang, the kind that had kept him up nights after Laura's death. He couldn't just walk away. "Come on," he said, extending a hand. "Let's get you out of this cold." Back in his small apartment, the space felt warmer than it had in years as Ethan heated up some canned soup and toasted bread. Lily devoured it slowly, savoring each bite as if it might be her last. Between mouthfuls, her story tumbled out in fragments. She'd been living with her grandmother, Agnes, in a rundown trailer park nearby after her mother vanished when she was just a toddler. Agnes had been her everything, teaching her to read by flashlight, sharing stories of summer trips to Niagara Falls. But a persistent illness had taken hold a month ago. "She kept saying she'd be fine," Lily said, her voice cracking. "But one day, she didn't wake up. The ambulance came, and then strangers took me away." Lily had been shuffled through foster homes, each one colder than the last. "They said I was too much trouble," she confessed, wiping her eyes. "So I ran back here, hoping Grandma would come back somehow." 2 nights she'd survived alone, hiding in an abandoned garage, eating whatever she could find. Ethan listened, his own losses mirroring hers to a sudden void, the endless whys. For the first time since Laura, he felt a spark of purpose. As midnight struck, marking Christmas Day, he made a vow. "You're not alone anymore, Lily. We'll figure this out together." That night, while Lily slept on his couch wrapped in blankets, Ethan paced the kitchen, his mind racing. He couldn't send her back to a system that had failed her so badly. Memories of Laura flooded back the way she'd dreamed of being a mom. How they'd talked about adopting if things ever went wrong. Maybe this was his path forward. He started with calls to child services, explaining the situation urgently. Then, he reached out to his old friend, a family lawyer named Alex, who groaned at the early hour but listened intently. "This won't be easy," Alex warned. "Background checks, evaluations, it's a marathon." But Ethan was resolute. "She's been through hell. I won't let her down." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Under temporary custody, Lily stayed with Ethan as he navigated the red tape court dates in bustling city halls. Home visits from social workers, parenting workshops at community centers. He transformed his spare room into a cozy space for her, with soft bedding and books from the local library. Lily blossomed slowly, her guarded smiles turning into giggles over pancake breakfasts and walks in the snowy parks. But the road was bumpy. Nightmares plagued her, echoes of finding Agnes, lifeless. Ethan would hold her through the sobs, sharing his own stories of loss to show she wasn't alone. "I lost my family too," he'd say, "but we're building a new one now." He learned the rhythms of fatherhood, the art of packing school lunches, helping with spelling tests, even attempting ponytails that always ended up lopsided. In return, Lily taught him to live again. Her excitement over simple things, like building snowmen or watching holiday lights downtown, chipped away at his walls. The first time she called him Dad, during a trip to the zoo, Ethan's voice caught. It was a title he'd thought buried with Laura, now reborn in this unexpected way. Months later, in a sunlit courtroom in the heart of the city, the judge reviewed the stack of reports. "Mr. Brooks, you've turned your life around for this child," she said, her tone warm. "And Lily, do you want to share?" Standing tall in a new sundress, Lily spoke clearly. "Ethan didn't have to help me, but he did. He makes me feel safe, like I belong. He's my dad not because he has to be, but because he wants to be." The gavel fell, sealing the adoption. Ethan lifted Lily in a joyful embrace, tears mixing with laughter. "We're official," he whispered, as they settled into their new life. Family dinners, school plays, summer road trips to the Rockies. Ethan reflected on the miracle. He'd thought his heart was closed forever, but Lily had pried it open, showing him that healing often comes through helping another. In the quiet evenings, as she drifted to sleep with stories of adventure, he'd whisper thanks to the universe for that fateful night. This story reminds us that in the midst of our deepest winters, whether the literal cold of a Canadian blizzard or the emotional freeze of lost kindness can spark warmth that changes everything. If you've ever felt broken, remember, sometimes the person you save ends up saving you. Reach out, choose love, and watch how it rebuilds what seemed lost forever. Your act of compassion today could create a legacy of hope for tomorrow.